Hey folks, welcome back to Best Talk. In case you are just now tuning in, my name is Rick Gutierrez. I'm your co-host.
And I'm Emily Galindo, helping Rick out and helping to support small businesses today.
Absolutely. So we are having a great time having experts come on the show and basically showcasing not only their expertise, but all of their products and services as well. And this week we've got what we like to say a repeat offender to the show, Mr. Jim Bradfield. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Did you like that repeat offender version? But it's great to have you. I know we always have great conversations, and we're laughing because that was actually pretty funny. But thank you for being back on the show. Jim, you know, in past conversations, we talked about the new Wi-Fi and cellular technologies and whatnot. But I'd like for us to go back a little bit. On previous shows, we've had discussions regarding copper phone lines, which was a very old telecommunications technology dating back to the late 1800s, I believe. And so now we understand that, you know, Federal Communications basically has given approval for telecom carriers to get rid of that technology. So give us some basics understandings of the FCC ruling and what does that mean for companies nationwide? You're the expert, so tell us.
Well, basically what's happening is the wired world is transitioning to the wireless world. So, you know, and companies don't even know this yet. They're going to be hit the first of the year with a bunch of notices to get rid of all of their copper lines. And so the FCC ruling was in August of 2019. It went into effect 2020. So what they're calling it is the sunset rule. And, you know, they were trying to be very poetic, but they're really messing with small business and large business at the same time. So they're getting rid of POTS, you know, plain old telephone service, and public switched telephone network, PSTNs. And it's going to happen over the next 4 or 5 years. I mean, the timeline is staggering. There used to be 176 million of these lines. There's still, you know, 19 million in service, and you know that's a lot. You know, it's 4 million lines per year going to have to be removed. And AT&T has announced, as has Lumen, and several other carriers, that they're going to be done by the 2029. They're not going to support these anymore. You know, and I mean they've just been sending out carrier notices, and part of the problem is they're forcing these companies to do things they don't know what they're doing, and on top of that, they have gone up by 800% on a lot of their billing. So I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Jim, that's, I mean, I know that you're conveying that this is a really big impact. And so for our viewers who are running small businesses all over this country, or who I'm assuming are going to be potentially impacted by this removal of the POTS or the no longer servicing of that, could you describe a little bit, what does that mean for the business owner who has a retail store, is operating their business? What does that mean for my day-to-day impact or that this is going to bring?
Yeah, so basically what's going to happen is they're going to be shut down. They're going to go with services that are usually connected to things like fax machines and things like that, you know, those kind of things can be fixed with cloud services, right? You can do cloud all day long. You know, there's plenty of vendors for that. The problem is going to be with HVAC, elevators, fire and intrusion, monitors, you know, IoT lines that aren't connected to the internet. And what's going to happen is these guys are going to get told that they don't have any more service. And for new companies, you're not going to get any service at all. So what it is they're going to be shut off, and they won't even know what to do. They don't have any idea what to do.
So are you saying that, you know, this is almost like an emergency, right? For some of these companies, you know, they need to start fixing this as soon as possible. And what challenges, you know, can you tell us that should companies, you know, do with these lines to get that situation under control?
Well, yeah, and the biggest thing here, guys, is that the services are not going to be supported or maintained. What's happened is, you know, guys like my age and everybody, you know, older than me, actually, you know, have all aged out, and nobody's going to support these systems. So if something goes bad in the CO or something goes bad, at the cross connect, too bad. Nobody's going to be able to know how to fix it. And so they're going to have increased costs. They're going to have to move to new technology. Nobody knows how to fix it, and the vendors are removing the services. I mean, that's just kind of a really, that's a really painful thing. And the first step to do is for these guys to understand what they actually have. Most people don't even know. And what happens is they get notified by accounting that, oh my gosh, our $4.37 a month line is now $300. And, and it's not just the small companies. Remember, it's going to be all the big companies as well. We've got giant companies that are having the same issue. And every line, they don't know where every line is. They don't know where all the cross connects are. They don't know anything. I mean, these guys are just out of service, and they're going to be out of service completely by 2029. And some of them, like Lumen, have already given notice that they're going to, all throughout US West, old US West territory, Lumen's territory, they're going to be taking them down. They're gone.
Wow.
So Jim, imagine I'm putting myself in, I'm a business owner, and I'm putting myself in my situation in terms of the emails I've received. You said Lumen sending out notifications, and AT&T. I probably overlooked those emails or deleted them. How do I know if I'm going to be impacted by this? And then once I find out if I am, what am I supposed to do about it? Let's say I'm trying to be proactive and not get my things just shut off one day. What can I do once I find out if I'm going to be impacted?
Yeah, so you will be impacted because there's only 8 states that have not sent shutdown notices. So, everybody is pretty much going to be messed up. And that's going to be mostly starting on the West and East Coast. Now, what you need to do is you need to go and look at all of your phone bills and figure out what is actually being billed. See, several cities and counties and state government offices and things like that, they've been in business for 100 years. They have a literal box. It used to be a giant box was delivered every month. Now it's all online, obviously, right? Because, nobody wants to look at a box of numbers. But all of those bills have to be run through and looked at to see what they actually have and try to figure out where they are. And a lot of these companies have, 100 locations and maybe 200 locations. Some of them have 800 locations all across the country. So they have to go through and do an actual inventory. They have to have somebody like us come through there. And what they do is they do a tone and test. You figure out what the numbers are on the, actually on the service orders and, the billing. And then you go look and see what's actually installed. And a lot of times what we're finding is most of these things, a lot of these things, 25 to 30% of them are actually not even actually working. They're still being built, but there's no connectivity to them. And so you bring somebody like us in to go and run through every kind of identification as to where they are, what they are, and what's happening. And then they figure out what they need to do for, the billing in the next step. And it's a lot of extra work for them.
Jim, so we uncovered the problem, right? We talked about the situation, but let's take a look into the future, right? So what is there a replacement technology for these lines, especially for those critical service, like elevators or alarms and things like that? What's going on there?
Yeah, so what's typically happening is that companies like AT&T and others are trying to figure out ways to help these guys out with new technology. They're going with cellular and cloud services and a combination of things. And they actually call them technology in a box. It's a very strange little thing. And unfortunately, right now, the technology in a box is only a few lines. So if you imagine, if you're a property manager, for example, and you have, 6 lines, well, you get 2 of these technologies in a box kind of thing, which works on the cloud, works on cellular, right? The new cellular technology we talked about, all the new stuff coming out. Well, what if you're a city or a county and you have 400 lines or 900 lines, or you have 800 lines all across the country? Well, then you've got to figure out if the cellular in a box, the technology in a box is actually going to work for you. And if not, you're in real trouble. You've got to figure out how to make a new thing happen for all of your dial-up lines, your fax lines, your anything else that you've got connected to those lines.
So Jim, I'm putting myself in a situation where I'm imagining myself as like this property manager who owns multiple, let's say, commercial properties, and they've all got elevators in them, and potentially that line gets shut off, and now I've got all these properties that have no elevator control, and I'm losing my mind trying to figure out, and the elevator company doesn't know what's going on. So I've got to find a solution, and you guys are that solution, right? This is something that you can definitely help us with, right?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
perfect.
correct.
Good.
Do
So
that.
how can
We'll do that
people
a
get in
box
contact
for
with you to figure out whether or not they have these lines, if they're going to be impacted, and how they're going to be impacted?
Right. They contact us at 925-382-0410. That's my private number. I will always answer that number for them. You can also get me at jbjr@naswireless.com. And we are on naswireless.com is our, as you're showing there, our network. So anybody that needs any help anywhere in this kind of thing, please give us a call, contact us. We're here to help.
All right, so we appreciate it, Jim. Thank you for being on the show once again. We certainly do appreciate your knowledge, your expertise every single week that you're on here. We not only learn ourselves, but our audience is also learning, and they're going to be getting in touch with you to uncover some of those things. So we appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
All right, take care, man.
All right, my pleasure. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with another expert. Stay right there.